Hey everybody, I know you're about to watch this kind of Webster tutorial, kind of hack kind of thing that I made. One thing I just want to talk about real quick before you watch it. Some of you might be wondering, why didn't I do the arm swing upward thing that is so popular now that so many of everybody has seen that recent Webster tutorial with the guy that's talking in like the Bronx kind of voice, and the Guido kind of voice thing. Then he talks about the shopping cart thing. The only reason I'm not talking about that is because for a forward Webster, going to front flip forward, if you swing your arms up like that, it's actually going to make it harder for you to do a flip in place. If we're talking about a Webster that's going to travel or dive out, then that might be possible. But if the whole point is going out of the idea that a Webster is developed from the aerial, aerials are not done with an arm swing upward. They're just not done that way. I've seen plenty of them done with the arm swing to the side like that, arms swinging down that way, and even arms swinging opposite like that. But I've not seen any kind of Webster, good Webster done with the arm swinging upward like that. So, however, the only time I've ever seen anything like that is when someone does a side Webster, because when you bring your arms up, then you can actually bring them to the side midway through the flip. And you can see that in this little video right here, because that's the way I used to do them. That's the way I kind of developed my side flip Webster for a long time. So there is something else called a step up front, which is, in my opinion, not the same thing as a Webster. It is a one-footed front flip. You take off of one foot, but it is not what I consider to be in the Webster category, because your leg does not swing up as far as it can through the motion. If you look at anybody who has a really good Webster, you can see that their leg gets really far over the top of them before they ever even leave the ground. So just keep that in mind. I think this is actually a pretty good one that I made. Be safe when you're training, and good luck on that Webster. It's going to take you a while. But yeah, stop doing the shopping cart thing. If you're trying to go forward, it's actually going to slow you down. If you're going to do a sideways Webster, then it might work out. But that's a whole other story. So take a look at this. What I want to show you today is how you can work up to your Webster just by knowing how to do a bridge and possibly like a cartwheel or a front handspring. You don't even have to have a good front handspring. You can have a bad front handspring and still have this. But I'll be using this with my students, and it kind of helps some of them get an idea of their better awareness and how they do it and how it works. I'm choosing Webster because it's something I'm fairly good at showing, and I've had the timing down very well. So, but finding progressions for people can be kind of hard for me, because when you have something so ingrained inside of you and you didn't really have to find the progressions for it from the very beginning, it's a little bit harder to teach that to people, because you didn't have to go through the process of actually learning the skill and developing it. Instead, you already just kind of figured out how to do it really quickly. So what I want you to do here is I want you to think about a couple of things. There's basically two ways to go into Websters, and I consider a Webster an aerial trick. So that means the leg's going to be extending really far behind you, like that, as far as it possibly can get through there. I don't consider these other bent variations to be Websters without that actual knee and hip coming up to here. I don't really consider that to be a Webster. I consider that to be a one-footed front or a gather step sometimes. So it's just the way the aerial works and how that goes through. So that's my idea of that. Otherwise, it's like a one-footed front flip. It's just a little bit different in the dynamics of it, but you can call it whatever you want. So starting out with that being the vocabulary for how I'm going to be using the Webster with that kind of aerial takeoff. There are two ways I like to use my arms, either a Russian lift, or I do what's called a partial Russian lift, and I'm going to explain those both. So a Russian lift, first of all, would be both arms swinging back like that. So if I'm here and going over that way, that would be a Russian lift. And the partial Russian lift is when I just do the Russian lift with my same leg I'm taking off from. So that's lifting up this way, and then the other arm is lifting up this direction. Kind of like an aerial. For some people, that's the way people do their aerials. But that's the way I usually do my Websters. So from here over that way, and that's the way I usually prefer to do them, because I get the best height, especially on flat ground. That works best for me. If you're going with an overhead swing for your Webster, I don't really find that to be very useful unless you're using that swing to turn into your Russian lift. I know in the old school Ryan Doyle tutorial, he starts out with his arms up and does that, but if you watch very carefully, he's actually doing a Russian lift. He's not doing this in it at all. You watch very slowly. He's coming here, and he's upside down, and when he hits upside down, he pulls in with his arms, and it's more of a Russian lift in there versus an actual overhead swing. So it's all about the timing, not necessarily what you're doing, it's when you do it. Anyway, so that's the Websters I'm going to be talking about. Now, what I found out to work here is if you do a partial Webster, where you just swing the leg back, jump off the other one, and then you tap off with the hand, you can get this kind of good, partially bad, mostly bad front handspring going. If you're going to be doing the Russian lift, you'll be using 2 arms to push off. If you're going to be doing the partial Russian lift, you'll be using 1 hand to push off. So I'm going to show you both of those right now. The first one being the Russian lift. So if I do the Russian lift, I'm going to follow through the whole thing, mainly focusing on my legs as being the primary movers here. The jumping leg has to push, the back leg has to swing as far away as possible. If you don't have those things, this will be a little bit more difficult to do. But that's why this is the progression to help you get there. So from here, they're rushing down through here, and as I push, I'm going to push the floor away from me with my hand, and I'm going to arch through it. So from here, over the top, like that. I suggest sometimes doing this into the pit a few times because if you don't have a good spring off 2 hands, you're likely to undercut and then end up back on the block again, like that. It happens more often than I'd like to say, but that's why I actually prefer the other one too, because you can travel more forward with it a little bit easier. So that's the first one. Swinging the leg back, pushing with both your arms and kind of springing off of it in that front spring manner, because that's going to help you develop that pattern that you need to get a good lift and good rotation for that Webster. So for the other one, the partial Russian lift, which I'm more accustomed to, is as I come down here, I'm going to push off with that 1 hand I would swing back. So from here, over that way. Okay? I'll do it again. I wasn't my best. There we go. So that partial push off there, and just lightly tapping it and pushing away to give myself a little bit of height. But once you start developing that, then you kind of get the pattern down of how the Webster works. And then from there, you start doing a little bit of a tuck in the middle of it. After you extend away, then you have that tuck in shape. Remember, it's not just the shape you make, it's how you get to the shape. So you are literally chasing after your legs with your upper body and creating that shape. You're not just going to go stuck into a shape. Again, I can jump up, did a tuck, but that didn't make me do a Webster, right? So it's how you get into the shape. It's not just the shape you're making. So let's say I'm doing this with the Russian lift, all right? I'll push off, and then I'll tuck in real quickly to help me get over a little bit more. So right there, small tuck into there. And this is very similar to doing a Kong front flip. And that will actually help you with doing your Kong front flip as well, because a Kong front flip is just a front flip with a little bit of push. It's not actually Konging over and then flipping. It doesn't work that way. So with the partial, now the only problem with the partial one is you tend to, because you're taking off of one leg when you tuck in, you're going to end up going sideways sometimes because of the way this works. That's actually how I learned my side flip. I did it from a Webster approach and then turned sideways. It just works better with this than most because your body's already tilting in that direction. This makes it a little bit easier. But here's the partial Russian one, pushing off and then grabbing after it. Here, push grab, and then land. Another cool things about this is it's going to develop your speed, allowing you to speed up your timing, which is necessary for Websters. You can't have this elongated, slow Webster unless you have good timing and or like sometimes if you do like the Andre Katozzi version or the way that Christopher Hollingsworth is doing his now, where he kind of has that full extension out of it, but you can't usually do that on your very first one because you have to have an idea of your awareness of where you are. So after you've done that several times and you kind of get that timing down, then you can actually start to just going through the motion without the hand tap and then the grab in the middle of it. So once again, going through the whole motion of it, from here, instead of tapping down, I'm just going to follow through and grab. So that way. Or for the Russian, instead of tapping down, swinging through, that way. So there you have it, all right? One more tip I can give you on the Webster is there's going to be a slight look forward before you tuck your head under. That's going to help you rise back up out of the dip position, which is most of the time what people forget to do. They come all the way down and they don't come back up. And there's that little bit of rise in there, that lift back up, that helps you get back up and over your shoulders, because you're always going to flip over where the shoulder line is. If you keep your shoulders low, you'll flip over that. But if you come here and rise up, you're going to go over that position. So, I see if you can see it. And then I have a partial look forward before I tuck under. This is where that speed comes into play in years and years of hard work. So, from here, I'm able to stand up a lot easier. Also, because I'm taking off something fairly high, I don't have to get as far through my extended position as I would on something flat on the floor. If I really do get that extension here, it makes it a lot easier. I don't have to hold on to my tuck as long. So let's say I focus entirely on that extension. All right, and this is what it looks like. You can see how much faster I got over. The farther through you kick, the less flip you're going to have to do, because you're already almost through the whole rotation. Well, not the whole, like 3/4, 1/4, 1/3. All right, that's what I got for you today, a little Webster progression. There are many more of them that I like to use as well, but that's one I've been using with my students, and it kind of helps them organically figure out things, and then I start throwing in small little other things in there as well to help with development. All right, guys, good luck on your Websters. Talk to you later.